So this is the first window of Blender. It is the by default object. Whenever we open the Blender, this start with this object. How to add the object and all these things we have seen in the previous practical. Now see, here we are going to see two types of animations. I am going to show you simple animations. First, I am going to use 2 to 3 objects together and try to do the animation. So for that we require some properties. I drag it here so that I can see the all properties. Now this object I am going to zoom it. See, last practical I have shown you that zoom in and zoom out only possible with this mouse middle button. Okay, select the object and suppose I want to in this way. Okay, and I'm going to scale it, minimize it. Only mouse, I'm not doing anything. Only change the position of mouse. It scale in all directions at a time. If you want to scale in X, Y, Z along with S, you need to press X, Y and Z. If you want to scale it in particular direction. S and X, then X direction, S and Y, Y direction, S and Z, Z direction. So here it is now the first object I have taken, that is cube as it is. Now I am going to add another object. So two options are there, either you can use add or shift A. Shift A is also used for adding the object. So add mesh object, I am going to add a plane. Okay, and again I am going to scale it. For scale press S and only I am using the mouse in this way. To scale the plane. It scale in all direction. Now the next one, again I'm going to see first whether it is fit in the camera. Why? Because when we render it, the part which is within the camera only visible, and that's why 0, I press 0. Now what happens? That object is above the camera or not fit in the camera. So accordingly I am going to again press 0. I am going to select it and X. No, for I'm not going to scaling. I'm going to move it. Okay. So you can grab it and why no? It is G and X, no, G and Z. Okay. So now I'm going to observe whether it is fit in the camera. Again, it is not there. So again press 0, grab Z. Okay. Again say, okay, now it is there. It is somewhat not there, but it's okay. Again, I'm going to scale that also. Minimize its size. S. Okay. Then grab and Z to zoom it. So this is the first plane I have taken in the cube. Now this one I'm going to change its property here. Okay. The physics property. Click on here. Rigid body. Now see rigid body, here it asks whether you want it active or passive. Now I want to make it active. Okay. I want it active only. Now this plane I want to make it passive. Physics property, from that active or passive, rigid body, active or passive. Now I make it passive and this one active. Now I take another one, another plane. Okay. Grab in Z. Scale in X. Scale, I am scaling it in X direction and I am going to rotate it. Okay, rotate in X direction like this. Only I am rotating x. So r and then x. So it rotate only in x direction. Now this also I am going to make it passive. So here this object is passive and this one is the active only. Now suppose I want to what happens here, I need to click right click to select the object. Why happens? Because here in user preferences I have not choose the left click. If you want the left click in user preferences mouse, you need to choose the left click. Otherwise by default it is a right click to select the object. Now I want to change the color, or you want to give some material, that property. So here then I will show you. Okay, so here new, I want to give some color to this one. Any color of your choice. Suppose give this color. Then for this one, I give some color. Okay. And this object, some green color. Okay. Again, the same, you can apply the texture with the texture property. Material. Select the texture, any one of these. Suppose I choose magic. So this texture will be applied here. Okay, now I minimize this size and check in camera. Yes, all are fit in this camera. Now what I have done here, it is active. These two and these two are passive. Now I am going to render it. Okay, for rendering, click here, camera. Instead, render means for image. Now we are doing animation. So click on animation. Okay, I'm going to stop here first. One thing that instead of that, here the number of frames you can observe by default it is 250 and takes so much time for rendering or for animation. And that's why I am going to minimize the number of 200. Okay, so that it render only up to 1 to 100 frames to minimize the time for rendering or for the animation. So again, I am going to perform the animation here. Now you can observe what happens here. It is rendering here and that's why it takes some time. Is it visible? So you can see here it is rendering. We need to wait until it complete 100%. Why it happens? Because this one plane and this place both are passive and this one only active, and that's why we can see this kind of animation. So using this rigid body also you can perform the animation, or you can apply it on any object. Again, to save it, change from PNG to AVI JPEG means you want to save it using the MP4, correct? As a file. That's why use this one, select. Then you can change the folder where you want to save. Suppose I want to save in documents, accept. You can give the name to this also. I give some name here. S4 batch, S4. Whether it is completed, we will check here. This is documents. It saved. Save. Hmm. Dot mp3 save as shows here. 1 minute. Here you can see the simple animation. Only we use the rigid property or the physics property, that is rigid, and change it from passive to active, active to passive, whatever the requirement. Here you can add another objects also. Different kind of objects are there. UV sphere, the torus is there. That objects are also you can add. That is one example. Now we are going to see the another example. Again, open the Blender. Okay. Now suppose we want to perform the simple bouncing ball. Okay, the ball is bouncing from here to there. So first I'm going to delete this object. I'm going to take a plane on which the ball will bounce. Add mesh, plane, scale it in all directions. I think sufficient to fit in camera. Hmm? Now the next one. Now camera angle also you can change. If you want to change this camera, this angle also you can change. Okay. So this plane, I'm going to add another one, that is UV sphere. Hmm? Now scale it, make it size small so that it looks like a ball. For ball, you can change its, make it smooth. It is possible. You can change its color. I'm going to give some color to this ball. You can add a texture, anything you can do. Okay. So this ball, grab it and you can put it anywhere from start. Suppose I want to start from here. Now for the keyframe, addition of the keyframe. So here you can add the keyframe. First I am going to minimize this 250 up to 80. Okay. Next, first keyframes means here one by one you are going to see the animation. So once you add the frames one by one. Okay. So and you after completion of the animation, this looks like the according to keyframe it will act. Okay, whatever the activity you have done or given during that particular keyframe, that activity will be appear when you perform the complete animation. So here first select the keyframe. So it is a 0, this one, and then press I. So it asks the insert keyframes. Normally we use location rotate scale. Okay, this one. Now I want to add the new next keyframe here, 10. So click select here. After that, change the position of the ball where you want it in this keyframe. So I'm going to change the, grab it and change the position of the ball. Okay. And then press I, local rotate scale. Next, click on the next keyframe. Now you can observe here yellow marks are there to indicate that this keyframe is generated. Next keyframe, now grab the ball and select the position where you want to keep it. Okay. You can check this with the uh, camera whether it is on the plane. Yes, it is there on the plane. In this way, I local. So three keyframes are generated. Now you want to check whether it is correct or not. So here the play option, play it. Okay, in this way. Now I am going to stop here, this one. Again at this position I am going to add another keyframe. Make the grab it, grab it first, then it's a position where you want to, and then press I. These three sequences are very important. First select the location of the keyframe, then select the location of the object, and then press I and add the keyframe. Once you insert it, you can see it here. Now again the next keyframe, select, grab the object at its suppose I want to keep it here. You can check whether it is on the plane. No, it is not there. So again one for front view, to check whether it is on the plane, whether it is touching that plane or not. Are using the simple this mouse, so grab it. Okay, now add the keyframe I look. Again you can check whether it is in proper sequence. Okay, it is not in this direction, that's why it is looking. Okay, so in this case when it touches the plane you can scale it, means indicating that suppose this the ball is, once it bounce it change the size like this whole, it becomes the wall. So at that position you can scale it also, it is possible. Stop it, I'm going to minimize it 80, not 60 only. Now at this position you can check where it is. Okay, at this key it is here. Now again I add a keyframe, change the position, grab it, then I. Okay, now select the last keyframe, grab it, check whether it is touches it. Yes. Okay, suppose I want to scale it as in this way, only in one direction suppose. It is possible. Okay, so in this way scale, you can scale in one direction only. So when the ball is, suppose it is a smooth ball, what happens once it bounces, it becomes the oval or spherical. So that shape also you can give when it touches the plane, it is possible. Add the keyframe I and you can check. Every time you can check whether it is touches the plane. If you want to change the position of the ball, if you want to change the size of the ball, in that if you want add 2 to 3 balls at a time, they are bouncing like this. Any kind of animation you can do. You can create the for example UV sphere, and you are showing that it is increasing size one by one. In animation you can show it that it is previously if small one, then in the next keyframe it becomes big, in the next keyframe it becomes big. In that way also you can perform the animation, it is possible. So many types are possible, so many, it's a depend upon your thinking, what you are making the, or how you are making the animation. It is the simple example. Now we are going to save it. First I am going to give some texture to this plane, color. Suppose I want to give texture, select material, this one. एवढं दिसत नाही. And now select where to save it. Go for animation rendering property, select MP4, AVI, AP, JPG. Here we select 2. We give the name, accept. Then make the animation. It takes some time to complete the 60 frames. Here also you can observe the ball is bouncing. So when this touches the plane, you can make it oval shape, spherical, indicating that it is a smooth ball jumping. It is automatically shown. There are properties to remove the shadows and all these things. So once you perform on your own, you can recognize the properties. Okay, now here you can see what happens. We change the size of that ball at the end. It is completed. We will check here. Documents and the animation. Okay, it is not in here, it not touches the plane. So every time check with one whether it touches the plane or not. See, here it is touches, but here at some position it is not touches. So in this way you can perform the animation.